Here's an example of a work problem I solved many years ago. I used to work for Cisco. I was with the phone group. You've seen these phones. They're in the airports. They're in banks. Go to Wells Fargo. You'll see the phone on the desk. We had a customer in New York that was a big law firm. Still is a big law firm. I can't say the name of the customer, but I can tell you the story. They were in an office tower in Midtown Manhattan, and the atrium in the lobby was this 30-foot brick atrium, and their name is in bronze letters embedded into the brick. So you probably know who they are if you're from New York. Anyway, the complaint was the senior partner in charge of telecom couldn't figure out how to use his phone. And we thought it was pretty straightforward. In fact, the team that designed the user interface on the phone is world famous. I won't say who they are, but they're world famous from San Francisco. It was a top-notch firm. And if you've ever been in a room full of geniuses, I have, and I wasn't part of that room. I was a spectator compared to their intelligence. And they designed this thing. And the only way you find out if you've got something that's working is you get it out to people who are using it in their everyday work, not testing it, actually having purchased it and using it in mission critical situations like the senior lawyer was. And his concern was when he dialed a number, we had a box come up that would number match. So if you'd called the number before and it was the second number in the line, you just press number 2. And instead of having to dial like 10 numbers, you just auto dial those 10 numbers. But the problem was that box came up and blocked the view of what calls were coming in. And they had a policy of answering every phone call, but they wanted to know who was calling. They couldn't see the caller ID. It was blocked by this prompt for dialing out. So he wanted to simplify user experience. We had made it too complicated for them. Fair, that's the thing you find out. It looks great to us because we're seeing the development every day for years. And this guy doing his best is coming in cold to our user interface, and it's too complicated for him. So I was summoned to New York because the management I worked for, they weren't really keen on going to see customers who were irate. They sent me because I knew I could handle it. I had a bad-tempered father, and the difference between this guy and my father was he was sober and my dad wasn't always sober. So I was used to being yelled at as a kid, and I knew how to deal with it. So we're in this conference room on the top floor. I think it's like the 80th floor. And there's this solid marble conference table that I understood later had been hoisted up 80 floors on the outside of the building. It's one massive conference table. Anyway, so there I am sitting in the position to the side of the head of the table, and the director comes in and he's sitting at the head of the table. And he looks at me and says, in the 45 years I've used telephones, I never had to learn how to use a phone until you had to learn how to use your phone. And he said this at full blast, 3 feet away from me in extreme anger. Now, that's a bit of a fib because have you ever seen that video of the 2 teenagers trying to figure out how to use a rotary phone with no instructions? We all had to learn from somebody else how to use a rotary telephone. So when this man was a boy, he had a rotary telephone that someone showed him how to use. So that was a fib. But his point was our phone was too complicated. Fair comment from a paying customer. So he was totally irate and he yelled at me for 10 minutes. And I needed to get him calmed down. There was a key on the phone for mute, and it looked like an angry snowman. It was either mute or something else, hold perhaps. But it's supposed to be the phone the handset on the table upside down, but it looked like a face, and we joked about it being the angry snowman. So I made a joke about the angry snowman, and it made him laugh because I was making fun of our own product. Then, at the spur of the moment, it occurred to me the best thing I could do is explain to him how helpful his staff had been and praise the people sitting at the table on his staff of how good they were to work with. And what that did was give him an out. He went from pissed off to laughing at my silly joke about the phone, and then he agreed with me of how good his staff was. He left the room praising his own people, and then the manager responsible for making this worked with us, and we came up with a design, an alternate design that was simplified, that worked for this gentleman, and they were happy. But it took him yelling at me to get through this, because that's the way he processed his frustration. And he wanted the vendor in my office at this time on this date, and I'm going to give them a talking to that they won't forget. And he was right. It was 30,000 phones. I wasn't going to argue with this, but I had to think on my feet. If I had been used to relying on an AI agent for doing my thinking for me, I would not have been able to handle that conversation. That took straight wits and guts to take it without getting upset and retaliating, without getting angry back and escalating. I kept it calm down, and I figured out something on the spur of the moment. Two things. I made a joke about the product to get him laughing, from angry to laughing in 10 minutes. And then I changed the conversation to praising his staff, which gave him an out. He could leave the room elegantly, having praised his staff. So this is the shit you'll learn. The stuff you'll learn when you're under fire and you're trying to get something brand new out into the market, and you haven't done it before, and you have no idea what you've got until you ship, and it's being used by paying customers in mission critical situations. It's the only way you can know if you have something worthwhile, unless you're delivering something that's a derivative of a successful product that's worked before. If you're trying something brand new, there's nothing you can do to shortcut this. You have to ship it to paying customers who must be using it in their mission critical situations before you know if you have something worthwhile or what you have to fix to make it worthwhile.